Karna is one of those heroic spirits who looks super stiff and formal on the outside. He can talk normally, sure, but everything about the way he acts just makes people assume he's the quiet, socially awkward type. Well, unless you've known him for a while. And then, out of all things, fate decided to reveal that you and Karna, yes, Karna, have a special handshake in his interlude. A whole secret greeting with a high five and a cheerful line from Karna himself. He legit says, "Heyo Chaldeluxe." That was such a hilarious line because Karna said it without any hesitation. The same guy who gives off the energy of a stoic anime protagonist, 24/7. Even Mash was upset she never knew such a wonderful greeting existed. Honestly, it's just hilarious. Oh, and who could forget Brynhilder's interlude? The whole thing is about her trying to rekindle the flames of passion she lost for Sigurd, so now she, Fujimaru, and Arthur are on a quest to find it again. Sounds poetic, right? A woman in love, reclaiming her passion so she can remember the feelings she holds dearest. Now the entire interlude takes place in a blizzard. It's snowing, like full-on freezing-to-death levels of snowing. So to summarize, they're literally searching for fire in the middle of a snowstorm. Which is why, the moment Fujimaru finally spots their target, they take a deep breath and drop the most beautifully brainless line imaginable. So, the snow is on fire. I don't know why, but that line is so dumb it loops back around to being peak comedy. Seriously, it has no business being that funny, yet in my head it sounds way too entertaining. Especially if you imagine the female MC saying it with the most empty-headed expression possible. This is what we're doing today. The Fate series might be known for its dark, tragic storylines and horrifyingly disturbing moments, but these characters also have peak comedy in their dialogue. No matter how insanely powerful they are, at the end of the day, they're still just a bunch of dorks who have a heroic moment in their life. Now, since FGO is a gacha game, chances are we won't get every character and might miss out on their stories. So I'm gonna focus on the funny dialogues and random conversations outside the main story. That way, even if we can't summon those super rare servants, we can still enjoy their ridiculous antics together. Now let's dive into some of the funniest dialogue and conversation moments in FGO. In Avasbron's interlude, there is a hilarious dialogue combined with a bizarre scenario. It's basically a fighting tournament. To be exact, this is a battle of robotic noble phantasms. The lineups are only servants with some kind of mecha power in their NP. So naturally the contestants are Avasbron, Babbage, Fran, Europa, Mecha Elizabeth, Odysseus. And then, suddenly, on one of the teams we have Hessian Lobo and Nursery Rhyme. What? Why is Lobo there? Even Edison, who was happily hyping up the event as the host, had to do a double take when he saw the lineup. He literally just stops mid-glazing, completely baffled, and drops a hilarious line while trying to stay respectful to the others. This just sounds so funny every time I imagine him saying it, and honestly, it's also hilarious on a fundamental level. First off, it turns out the guilty party is Nursery Rhyme. This tiny, innocent-looking book fairy insisted on Lobo being in the tournament, and given how she acts like a literal child, it's entirely possible this was just an innocent spelling mistake on her part. Secondly, in Japanese, R and L sounds are pretty similar, so Robo and Lobo would be pronounced almost the same. Meaning, if you said bring a Robo, someone might very well hear it as bring a Lobo. And that's how we ended up with a literal gigantic werewolf in a mecha battle tournament. Another completely unexpected and hilarious dialogue moment happens in Shakespeare's interlude. Now, if you hear Shakespeare, you'd naturally assume his interlude is going to be all about storytelling, or about his writing, right? Makes sense. Technically, yeah, that's what happens. Except the performance in question involves a sudden werewolf invasion attacking the city. So now, Mash and Fujimaru have to go full action hero mode, taking down wave after wave of werewolves, which, by the way, Shakespeare himself summoned because he thought it would make for a great show. And then, just as the dust settles out of absolutely nowhere, a random civilian steps forward and declares an absolutely outlandish line to Mash. He says, "I love you, let's make a baby." What in the actual hell was that? This line just drops out of nowhere. No build-up, no warning. Just straight-up feral admiration for our eggplant. Honestly, I was not expecting to get hit with something this unhinged from the interlude of a bronze servant you can pick up for free. Next up, we have Astolfo's interlude, aka pure chaos in story form. From start to finish, it's stupidly fun, completely unhinged, and absolutely refuses to take a break. Seriously, the sheer amount of ridiculous moments in this one is off the charts. It all starts with Astolfo suddenly dragging you to France on a quest to find Roland. When you get there, the local citizens are traumatized because Roland has been running around naked, completely out of control, and the soldiers there just want to make Roland to put on some clothes, but every time they try to put clothes on him, he goes berserk. And since Astolfo is Roland's friend, the people immediately decide he's the problem and start attacking him. Meanwhile, Roland was still running around completely naked, somehow ending up on top of a 200-year-old saint statue, planting himself on its head like it was his personal throne, and yelling a cheesy line at the top of his lungs that he was the king of the world. That was hilarious enough if you can imagine it. Well, on second thought, don't imagine it. Anyway, one of the soldiers just let out a deep, exhausted sigh as he took in the absolute madness unfolding before him. This guy completely describes the madness that happened with his dialogue line, which is freaking funny. The soldier says, "The kids cried. The women blushed but kept staring. I'm starting to get really tired of living a proper life." He really said he's tired of living a proper life, all because of one guy running around naked and committing vandalism. What a menace. Now, after calming down the poor man, the party finds barefoot footprints leading away from town. So, Astolfo does some detective work. Based on the clues, we get a full agenda of the atrocities Roland committed. He climbed a tree, stole a bird egg, and ate it. Still hungry, he attacked a random wyvern and ate it raw. Then he got food poisoning and stepped all over his own vomit. After that, he took a nap, naked. He got rudely woken up when a horse rushed him and kicked him in the back. He tried to reason with the horse's rider and ended up choking the guy out and leaving him under a tree. Then he stole the horse and attempted to ride it naked and bareback. This entire story is pieced together through Astolfo's investigation, which is talking to the horse. At this point, I don't even know what kind of detective work this is. Finally, with the horse's help, the party actually finds Roland, fully clothed, thank God, and the first thing he does is confess his love to Mash. He says, "The moon is beautiful tonight," which is an old poetic way of saying, "I love you." So yeah, Roland just hit Mash with the smoothest possible confession the first time he saw her. Now the most interesting part about this is that this isn't even the real Roland. Turns out he's just leftover emotions given form. And once you beat him in battle, he fades out of existence while saying something dramatic and full of thought. At least, before I die, I wanted to expose everything. Yeah, that last line was hilarious because he looked so cool right up until he finished his sentence. But honestly, this one was fun from start to finish. And then we have another servant dropping an absolutely hilarious yet legendary line in their interlude. The funniest part is that it comes from someone you'd never expect to question something so ridiculous, Ivan the Terrible. He kicks off his interlude with a dramatic monologue, narrating his own tragic state. "My poor body, my poor mind. What could have happened to transform me so grotesquely? I may have been known as terrible in my time, but I never imagined I would actually become so literally, and yet my soul stirs with the desire to serve all of humanity. It seems I must ask my faithful underling, or rather my beloved master, about this change in my circumstances." With that narration at first, it seems like a dramatic and emotional interlude. But then, out of nowhere, he drops one of the most deadpan, fan-favorite lines in the entire series. He says, "Why am I an elephant?" It's so simple yet so absurdly funny. You can feel Ivan's genuine confusion radiating through the words. He's not even mad. He's not annoyed. He's just wondering. Like, buddy, we've all been asking the same thing. Those were just a few of them. What other FGO dialogues do you think are hilarious? By the way, YouTube seems to be trying to ban my channel, so if you can, please share this video everywhere. Don't forget to subscribe and see you guys next time.